they can see exactly what it's set up, what your setup is, and the progression that you've made. I mean, because I remember when we first started talking, you didn't have, I think, maybe about half of what you've got now in your studio. You've got quite a bit in there now.
Well, actually, I got probably more than most radio stations have, minus the transmitter. You go. Yeah, I got the servers. I got man, do I have the computer power here. But, I just don't have the transmitter. I mean, I've worked in a lot of radio stations in my life, and they didn't even have anywhere near what I have. And I'm not bragging about it. It's just to do the show the way I wanted to do it, okay? Because I do it as a one-man operation. When I used to do like a KVI or some of these stations years ago, I had an engineer who sat there on the other side of the glass window, and they were doing everything, and he would point at me, and then I knew we were going on break or, things like that.
Right.
I have to do everything. So everything from the bumper music to the commercials to when we go on break, okay, I have to make sure that for the radio stations, I'm not, sending out anything like the music to them because they need that 2.5 minutes for their commercials. So I have to do all this stuff, and I have to hit the right button at the right time. So far, I've done it.
We need to get you up to like the Howard Stern level. How he has his producer there on the other side of I think her name is Roz or something, isn't it? I thought they named her the same name, or she's got the same name as what was on. Oh God, what was the shrink from Cheers?
Oh yeah,
he's what. I think he was out of Washington.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Yeah, he Fraser, and it's coming back.
Fraser,
they're bringing it back now. Much older Fraser.
Oh, are they?
Oh yeah, but
good.
Howard Stern's retiring, and he was the man.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember his publicity stunt that he did. We're talking decades ago, where he did the whole jungle gym thing or jungle vine thing across the academies, and he was wearing nothing but a loincloth. Do you remember that?
Well, because I've been a Howard Stern fan for many, many years. In a couple of radio stations, I've been fired twice in broadcasting. And one of the times I got fired because that was owned by Mormons.
Oh, boy.
Okay. And they hired me to do Top 40. And this is back, many years ago. And, I did it like a Howard Stern thing. I said, okay, I'm going to give away a dozen albums for the first girl that comes in here topless. Yeah, I didn't even finish my air shift, and I got a phone call during one of the songs, and they said, well, after your air shift is over, you're not there anymore. Hey, oh, well.
Oh, boy.
But, boy, did I get a lot of women coming in, and I was giving a lot of albums away for free.
You dog.
Hey, that was when I was young, and I was single at that point. That was many years ago. So getting with you, okay, because now we're on 22 radio stations. Plus,
Excellent.
And we got new listeners along with the old listeners. A lot of truckers out there that listen to the show. A lot. I want to talk about, because we only got you for about 45 minutes, minus the commercials, your first death experience, and then we'll go on. You're just like the ever-ready battery. You know that, dude. I've never talked to somebody that died so many frickin' times. I'm scared.
I'm scared. Very fascinated by it. Yeah.
I'm scared, R.W., that you're going to die while I'm interviewing you.
Nah. They say only the good die young. So, therefore, it's not happening yet. But, it's people who know me. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone tonight earlier, and they were referring to the same thing that you were just talking about as my near-death experience that I've had, and they were like, you've had more chances and more lives than a cat. I was like, nope, not quite. I've only had 6. There's 3 more still left, and I always joke about it and use the Michelle Pfeiffer from Catwoman, Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, and she says, I've used 7. I think I'll save 1 for next Christmas. It was like,
well,
no, the near-death experiences, they have molded me into the person that I am. Because once you face death and you've, had a glimpse of what's on the other side. Whether anybody believes or not, that's their, position on life. If they believe that when they die and they shut their eyes for the last time and that's it, and the brain shuts down and the body shuts down and there's nothing, to me, that's just as much, and this is one of the things that I know we cover on your show, is whether you believe in a higher power or not, I do, but whether you believe in one or not, that the universe itself that we know of, because we don't, there could be the multi-universe theory, but the universe that we know would not have expanded and created as many galaxies and solar systems that are within an inhabitable planet. As many as there are, billions, and only put life on one. That's just not the theory of evolution. Evolution, it requires that nature produces what happens. Well, nature would have had to have happened on other planets. It just, whether it be life the same as we have it or life is different. Same thing for me, is that I believe that we get a chance in this life to live it to the fullest. And if we get a chance to come back, like I've done, as many times as I've done, you learn to appreciate the smaller things in life. Like recently, I've been communicating with somebody. It was an old friend of mine that used to live in my neighborhood back when we were kids. And we just recently reconnected after 42 years. And I'm telling my age, but 42 years of not seeing each other since we were kids. And his family moved away. And I just happened to look him up on Facebook. I don't know why I've never thought of it before, but I just happened to look him up on Facebook. And so, by the way, Troy, if you're listening, hey, bro. But, those are the things that mean a lot to me, is getting to reconnect with somebody that I haven't spoken to in 42 years, or another friend of mine, Julie, that I just recently connected with through Facebook, that I haven't spoken to in 27 years because she moved away and we lost contact with each other. Life goes on, and, getting to know all about their lives now. That to me is a jewel, to be able to have that kind of connection with life itself. So, I don't concentrate on the death part of things. I don't fear death. I'm not going to go out there and throw myself in front of a Mack truck and see if I live, but, use wisdom. But at the same time, I'm not fearful of it. I've came through cancer. I've came through car accidents. I've had my bouts with, with things trying to extinguish me, and it just hasn't happened. So I'm taking it as there must be a purpose for it.
Well, I if anybody I've known one other person that had a near-death experience where they laid there for about 4 minutes on the operating table as they tried reviving them. And but you topped that all off. I mean, how many times has it been where you've actually died?
6 times clinically. There's probably the most estimated time was, I think there was at Moffitt was 12 and a half minutes. And your brain supposedly quits all action after like 4 or 5. And then at 7, you're considered brain dead. So for me to be gone that long, and again at Bradenton Hospital, I was in a car accident there. That was the first time that I left this world and came back. And that was 12 and a half minutes. Moffitt was also 12 and a half minutes. So yeah, I'm kind of got a tie there going on. I just thought about it. But, when you step on the other side, you realize this world is not something you're supposed to fear. You're supposed to enjoy. And, appreciate the people that are in it, and just live life to the best.
Yeah, that's all you can do. But the first time you died, what did you die from?
That was a car accident, and I was it was considered one of the 14th, at that year, 1992, was considered one of the 14th worst car accidents in the state of Florida. And I flew out the hatch window of my Dodge Daytona. You said you had a Dodge Daytona at one time.
Oh, yeah.
And flew out through the window, not the hatch opening, and flew up over 2 telephone poles high, which is an estimation around 60 feet. Then I came down with that velocity, Newton's law, and skidded about another 200 feet on the pavement directly in front of the car. And the car came to a stop about a foot away from my head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it crushed every bone in the lower part of my face. And it took the skin right off the back of my head and my back. I've had a lot of graphic surgeries, graft surgery, that to repair situations. But one of the things they discovered with me at Moffitt, when they were kind of amazed that I kept dying and coming back, and I had cancer, and I was terminal. And the doctors had already given up, had already told me in November of that year of 2007, you have less than 3 months left to live, so do whatever you want to do, and when your body gets to the point of weakness, then you'll check in, and that will be it. So when I checked into Moffitt, February 17th, I'd already gone past the time period that they had said, but when I checked in on February 17th, because I collapsed, I had gone for my to meet with the cancer specialist, and I collapsed in the office. And I died then. At that point, they resuscitated me, or I revived, whichever way you want to look at it. And they thought, okay, we'll put him on life support. They wanted to put me in an induced coma. My mom would not. She was my surrogate for holding me, at bay from the doctors putting me in that, because they wanted to put me in a coma, an induced coma. But I didn't, but my lung collapsed as a result. So when the lung collapsed, I quit breathing. I died again. That was 2 times. And I already died back in 1992. So I guess you were looking at 3 times already right there.
Oh, wow.
Then 4th time was just like 2 nights later. All my vitals kept dropping. They told my mom and my son to call all the family members in, and this was it. And so my mom did. She called all the family members in. They came in one by one to say goodbye to me. And as they did, I passed. And I left.
Now, I got to ask you a question, R.W. Were you awake when they were coming in and, saying their goodbyes to you?
I can recall certain ones. I don't, the brain has a way of, doing its own thing about that. I remember certain ones. And I remember I couldn't have a conversation with them because I had a tube down my throat. They were trying to give me oxygen as best as possible. And so I couldn't speak at all. They were speaking to me. And
did it scare you? That's what I was going to ask you. Were you scared if you could hear what they were saying to you? No. When you're laying in bed and everybody's saying goodbye to you and, and trying to make peace, that I'll be honest with you, R.W. To me, I would be terrified. I don't know about you, James. Would you?
Well, I'm a little different, but I'm not afraid of death or nothing. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it would be very terrifying. Be like you're hopeless, like you can't respond, and people's passing you off.
Well, I ain't scared of death.
The only thing about that was it's sort of like people say that they've had the phobia of being embalmed or being laid to rest in a coffin and they're still alive and they can't speak, and it's like people coming over saying their goodbyes to them. That's sort of the way it was.
Right.
I was able to communicate with my eyelids to let them know that I received what they were saying to me, and I acknowledged it. No, that was the best that I could do.
Okay, R.W., James, we got to go break. We'll be back